Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Tips for Mortgages. I'm, of course, Jaden Bax with Avenue Financial out of Calgary, Alberta. Joined as always by my cousin, best mortgage worker I know other than me, Mike Parkinson of Dominion Lending
True.
Centers out of Campbell River. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great, and it's nice to be on, live with my hero,
Yeah,
my
sure.
mentor.
How's it feel to be in the top two?
Oh, unbelievable! I've never been this top. I've never been this high before, and I've
That's
never
it.
ranked this high. So,
Yeah,
so thank you for
it's
that.
it's it's really easy when it's just two guys talking, right? So
Oh yeah, totally right. I got to be somebody. I got to be somebody. So
that's right. Yeah. So anyway, a little bit less to talk about this week in terms of big announcements. We already covered the holding tight and everything. I'm gonna go a little bit more into what we're seeing with bond yields, what that might mean going into 2024. Chat a little bit more about what our thoughts are for the economy and how these we both strongly believe that we're going to see strong interest rate declines throughout 2024. But what that means for the economy, a lot of people have views that are perhaps different than ours. So we're going to dive into that a little bit. Why don't we get started with those bond yields, Mike, and what's been going on over the last couple of weeks here?
yeah, well, they've been dropping like crazy, Jay, and I'm kind of getting tired of my emails popping up. Okay, 20 different lenders. Okay, now here's our rates. Now here's our rates. Now here's our rates. Like it's every day. It's like okay, they've come down, but they still don't get don't get tied into those 5-year fix because they're down from the highs that they were and things like that. So just things you got to think about. But yeah, like the 5-year bond yield today is under 3.5%,
Yeah.
which hasn't been there in a long time. And bond the yields in the U.S. are dropping as well, long-term yields. So the bond market's telling us something. I think it knows what's happening. I think it knows that we're heading into a recession. Some people think it's going to be a lot harder of a recession than others. So that's the case. And we just had a good discussion before we went live here that people think that when rates do fall, that the economy is just going to miraculously turn around and things are going to get better and there's going to be FOMO starting again and things are going to go crazy. Well, I'm not in that camp, Jay. I know we talked a little bit about that. It takes time to do that. The lag effect is what we've been talking about and drilling into people for
Well,
months
and
now.
it's a two-way street, isn't it? And so we're still feeling the lag effect of the first rate hikes, that quarter point that we had. Like we haven't even felt some of those 1% and three-quarter point hikes yet coming through the economy, right? And so, like you say, Mike, the absolutely going the other way. In my mind, if I were to put a number on it and just kind of spitball things, I really feel personally, we're looking at like a 3% drop over 2024 from current rates in terms of the overnight rate with the Bank of Canada, somewhere in that range, right? 2.5 to 3%. That doesn't mean that we're gonna go back to cheap interest and everything is gonna be bluebirds and butterflies, right? That same way that it took this last 18 months to get to where we are, and we're still not there. We're still heading down a rabbit hole that's gonna be hard to jump out of. It's going to be the same way on the other side. It's a process to climb back up out of the hole that we've dug.
Yeah, well, the lag effects are really, like you just mentioned, it takes time for them. So as we're dropping rates, they're going to be forcing each other against each other on these lag effects that haven't even happened yet. So it's a real interesting world. I think 2024 is going to be interesting. Do I know where rates are going to go down to? I have no idea. We know they're going to come down in 2024. We just don't know when and how much. But I agree, Jay. I think it's going to come down more than people think. I think the prediction is 1 to 2% by the end of the year. Like you just mentioned, probably a bit more if there's something going to happen, and something will happen in my mind. We just don't know what. Is it going to be a banking thing? Is it going to be unemployment cranking up, which I think is going to happen? We just don't know, right? But all the leading indicators moving forward are not looking great. So
Well, but I think
GDP is pretty flat,
no,
So
but I think we do know, Mike, and we do like all those numbers that when we look at them, we're already at the inflation that we were at 1.9% inflation if you take out mortgage holding costs. We know that if you take all of the immigration that we've had over the last couple of years and include the non-permanent residents that are here in Canada and working as well, that GDP is per capita per person has been going down for something like 6 quarters in a row now.
Yep.
We know that all of these things are happening, and so one of the things that I think what the big thing that's going to happen is happening, and it's just
Yep.
not being talked about in the correct way just yet, right? So yeah, all of these numbers are pointing towards what I think both of us consider a huge recession. It's going to be tough. It's I think for the Albertans watching, it's we're probably going to get through it a little bit easier than you guys out in BC, Mike, in terms of where the housing market is going and things like that, because we continue to have strong net migration to Alberta. That's through both
Still pretty
immigrants.
affordable, Jay, out there compared to here.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it has skyrocketed over the last 2 years,
Yep.
but nothing in compared to Vancouver Island, the lower mainland, Toronto, Montreal. Those places have gone crazy in other ways, right? So, our housing market is very interesting to see. I read all these articles about, real estate falling off a cliff in cottage country out in Ontario, and, people in their pre-sale condos that are worth 15 or 20% less than when they bought them 18 months ago
Pretty
out in
scary. Yeah.
Toronto. Yeah, right. And so we're not experiencing that in Canada. Oh, excuse me, in Alberta. I do a weekly update with a realtor buddy of mine, and we still see, even though it's slowing down a little bit, but we still see month over month growth of 2 to 3% in prices in Calgary right now. Calgary in the greater area, right? So I think Alberta is going to get hit a little bit less, but man, there's some hard times coming for some different parts of the country, eh?
Exactly. And even out here, Jay, like prices have come down a little bit, but it's not like anything. We haven't seen any drops, significant drops or anything yet. Supply is still an issue. I'm sure it is out there as well.
Yeah,
But at some point, the next generation's got to buy. People got to be able to afford stuff. I mean, it's just, even if interest rates drop 2 or 3%, that's going to help a lot. But if people aren't working, it doesn't matter if interest rates are 5% or 0 or 1 or whatever, right? So if people have suffered so much, then it just makes it a challenge. So I hope that the outcome's better than what the indicators are telling us. But for now, that's kind of where it's at. Let's talk a little bit about inflation. You mentioned like it is pretty much back. If I mean, is it or isn't it? Because you go to the grocery store, you don't feel like things have come down. We're in what's called disinflation right now, where there is inflation, but it's not increasing like it was. That disinflation could though lead to something that we don't want to see, correct? Like deflation. What are your thoughts on that?
yeah, absolutely. And I think there's, nobody wants to get caught in a deflation cycle. I think China is putting up the good fight against their own deflation right now. And everybody thinks of deflation as oh, this is great. Groceries have gone crazy, gas has gone crazy, XYZ has gone crazy. Everything is so we'll get a little bit of deflation and reset the market. Deflation does not work like that. It is a market ruiner. The only thing that really causes deflation is mass unemployment, falling wages, all of those kinds of things. So it's certainly something that we don't want to see. Really feel like we're on the verge of that in 2024, based on the things happening in the background, and just hopefully can pull out of it as quickly as possible. I guess that when we talk about all these big macro things quite often on here, but it comes down to micro decisions for you, and with all of these things going on, and the bond yields going down. And Mike talked about we're getting these emails every day about rates coming down and this and that. Rates aren't keeping up to the way that bond yields are going down, right? So this 5-year fix has come down a little bit here, a little bit there. Just the lenders trying to keep competitive, but really, this isn't the time of year traditionally where they offer their best rates. They're waiting for that February, March to get into the spring market, see if these bond yields stabilize. Um, so a 5-year fix, I don't think it hasn't been for a while, but especially now is not your friend. Really important to be making good decisions, because the reality of the situation is, if you lock into that cheaper 5-year now and life changes 2 or 3 years from now, when we're back to what we would consider that kind of normal market between 2.5% and 3.5%, you are going to have a monster penalty to pay to get out of that mortgage if you can't port it for whatever reason, right? So
Yep.
um, just really, you can't just be thinking about right now. I have a client who just recently locked into, he's buying a new place, and he decided to go with a 3-year fixed. He originally wanted a 5-year because he just wanted stability. I personally think the 3-year was a bit too long for him, but the price is right for him.
Yep.
It's where he was comfortable, and he just does not want to get caught up into the variable game, and that's great. The only thing that we can do is give the information like we're given today. I always send my clients articles around what's going on with the rates, just so they can make the most informed decisions. And then you do what's most comfortable for you. Just always be aware of the consequences. The decision you make today can have a couple of years in the future.
Yeah, and listen, there's no guarantees on what we're saying is going to happen, right? This is just what we learn, what we follow. If you look at the indicators, and if you look at history, rates are coming down. So
Yeah,
that's the bottom line. And history never, always repeats itself for the last 100 years. We could open up this onions, dice it, slice it as much, and talk about things that will prove that. But I mean, basically, what we're saying is that uh, hang in there. Think about what your plan is for the next 2 to 3 to 5 years, 1 year, whatever. I've got lots of people, honestly, that I got approved on a 2 or 3 year fixed, and they weren't closing their mortgage for a couple months, and we've now changed them all to variable. So it just makes sense, but you got to understand how it works, right? So
yep,
so please give us a call. We're not trying to force you into a variable. If you think a 5 year fix or a 3 year fix is something that's going to work for you, as long as you understand the terms of the mortgage, that yes, you could have a big penalty if things drop and you want to get out. But if you're comfortable there, that's your final decision. So give myself a call in BC or Jaden a call in Alberta. We're happy to chat with you guys anytime and go over all this. So
yeah. And
anything
until
else, Jay?
then, no, until then, we'll see everybody next week.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody. See you.
Bye, buddy.